the first question refers to a video that you have where you talked about how Sri Aurobindo, transitioned, or rather, continued the legacy of Vivekananda in a sense. So the question that they're asking is while that person personally seems to understand what all of this is, but the question is nobody has touched upon it very deeply in the spiritual perspective. As opposed to most of these religious organizations seem to end up becoming social service NGOs and all that, at least in the public life. If you could talk, so what was it? What was that Shakti that Swami Vivekananda had? I'm just paraphrasing it a little. That enabled him to go much beyond only the limited spiritual sense. I mean, he touched upon multiple walks of life. You can talk about education, you talk about anything, you will find his voice resonating there, or you hear him speak about it. So, what is it that he gave to the ancient dharma and spirituality that all of us, or that you think should be rekindled in a sense? That's the first question. I'll take.
I'll take it. Anybody can take it, no?
Yeah. Rajesh, you want to start?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
Hello to everybody. I'll go straight away into the main heart of the question, which is the link between Sri Aurobindo and Swami Vivekananda. It's not that it has not been touched upon. I mean, those who are aware of Sri Aurobindo have read his writings and hold him in high esteem. I'm mostly aware of this. Those who are followers of Swami Vivekananda also are kind of aware of this. So basically the incident that happened, as we get it from Sri Aurobindo's writings, is that he was in the jail due to the Alipur bomb case, where I think he was not the person who was involved. Actually, somebody else was, but they implicated him anyway, because at that time, Aurobindo was one of the most dangerous Indians alive. I mean, that is the British characterization of Aurobindo. Used to be. That's how it used to be. So they thought that this is a good opportunity to get him into jail and put him in a complete isolation. And those in that era, the kind of torture, the isolation, etc., that the British were capable of is quite. We can understand that there was obviously when they set a target on an individual that okay, this is a dangerous individual and he needs to be taken out of the equation. So they will use the full might of their techniques and whatever they have to neutralize him in whatever way possible. So it is in that environment that Sri Aurobindo, when he went to jail, he actually took along with him only one text, that is the Bhagavad Gita, which he used to study. And he has been studying that for more than a decade, to be honest, what we get from his writings. And he had been practicing his various kinds of yoga, pranayam, and a couple of other things. I mean, he was already in the regime of doing at least 5 hours of pranayam daily, apart from his other activities as an editor, as inspiring people, then doing work with the Anushilan Samiti and, various other things. So in the jail, in the environment that he was deprived of, so it was a solitary confinement. So basically you don't have any light, you can't meet anybody, you may get a food once a day, something like that. In that environment, he, because there was nothing else to do, so he used to practice his yoga, he was doing. And there he had a vision, if I recall correctly, there was a vision where he felt Swami Vivekananda appeared in the jail for a period of about, I think, a week or something like that, used to appear to him. I think fortnight, correct. And used to direct him spiritually, in the sense that there are certain more zones of the human mind beyond the rational mind, which later Sri Aurobindo developed into the idea of the various kinds of the luminous mind, the intuitive mind, and the higher mind, the various other terminologies that he uses. But in a way, briefly put, it was Vivekananda who directed him towards that goal, towards the direction that he must explore spiritually and understand better and develop. So that is the first primary connection, spiritual connection, you may say, that was there. Apart from that, we already see that Swami Vivekananda did play a very strong influence, not only on Aurobindo Ghosh. I'm using the term Aurobindo Ghosh because he had not taken the name Sri Aurobindo at that time. Okay, he took it afterwards because he had certain more experiences. Then he completely took to the spiritual the realm, and left all revolutionary activity aside, and political activity. So he used to be at that time known as Aurobindo Ghosh. So I'm using, that's why I use that term, but it's Sri Aurobindo for us as we know him. He already had a very deep reverence for Swami Vivekananda, because Vivekananda's impact was tremendous. I mean, after specifically Vivekananda had left his body, we already know and we see that a large bunch of the revolutionaries were completely inspired by Vivekananda. That is, in fact, he's the kind of man, if we read his last days of Vivekananda, we see that when he was alive, perhaps towards the end, so there was a mass connection that was there, but the certain elite sections of Hindu society, and specifically Bengali society, were not in favor of Swami Vivekananda, because they used to look at him also as somebody who is changing, certain traditionally accepted ideas and practices, and is not following them exactly to the T. So they had certain opposition towards him, to the extent that after his death, I think this we find in one of the Bengali books on Swami Vivekananda. So there was an invitation sent out to prominent Hindus, including those who were in the already, from today's perspective, you would say that deeply colonized prominent Hindus. So they were in elite positions in society at that time, comparatively elite, like whatever elite Indian could achieve. Many of them refused to, so they had no issues with a certain degree of collaboration with the British, but at the same time, in their personal practices, they used to consider themselves as very deeply religious and things like that. They had certain reservations in attending the funeral and the memorial services of Swami Vivekananda, because they used to think that, okay, this man has made certain changes, or he did not follow the caste system to the extent that it was followed at the time. Certain these kind of ideas were there. It is only later on when very prominent people who had certain degree of influence, and people who were followed by other average people, they started eulogizing Swami Vivekananda, that we find that everybody became very keen that, okay, this is, he is a man who is very different. So in that sense, by the time Sri Aurobindo was there and the other revolutionaries were there, because initially Sri Aurobindo had a very strong political and revolutionary mind. I mean, he was one of those people who was keen that India should get the freedom, not through the pacifist method, but through the more aggressive, you should get whatever extreme measures need to be taken, must be taken, because of that viewpoint. So those people were very highly influenced by Swami Vivekananda anyway. So they used to look at him as a guide, as an inspiration, as a figure who gave a strong reason for connecting the older civilizational ethos along with what is happening politically at this moment. So it's kind of a man who certainly broadens your vision. It's not just, I have to just get out of the British. Why I have to get out of the British? Because I am a civilization that is so old, that is so powerful, that there's no reason to feel inferior to the West.